I'm Brenda Siegel. I'm the director of the Southern Vermont Dance Festival, for those of you that don't know. This year's festival will take place July 17th through July 20th. We have incredible faculty lined up to come and unbelievable performances. This year we have 2 of our gala performances at the Latches, and our 3rd gala is going to be at the Redfern Arts Center in Keene. We also have informal concerts happening, 3 different informal concerts happening at the Stone Church. And then there's free community events that are happening from 9 a.m. till 6 or 7 p.m. every single day, Thursday through Sunday of the festival. And that includes dancing, live music, there's a clown that's coming, it's just going to be an unbelievable 4 days. In addition, we have the Bill T. Jones Arnie Zane Company is sending Catherine Cabine, and she will be doing a lecture, a talk that's about the creative process. That will be, a reception will precede that on Friday evening. And that's one of the most exciting new additions to the festival. The other most exciting new addition to the festival this year is that we're going to be having a movement-related art walk that is actually going to start during Gallery Walk in July. And we have 6 different venues that will show about 10 different artists and their photography, paintings, prints, all kinds of stuff. It's amazing. It's really amazing. Some of it's dance. It's not all dance. And it's another way to bring people into our local businesses, which is 50% of the mission of the festival, is to revive the local economy. So I really wanted to announce that part. So we have all these different little things that, there's these ticketed events that happen that people can buy tickets and take up to 4 classes a day and see all the performances, or they can buy tickets to just see the performances. But then we have these free community activities that anyone from anywhere that wants to come here for the weekend or for the day can come, and all those events take place downtown. And that brings people into our local economy, into our local businesses, and really helps to revive our community. For those of you that don't know, this festival was in part created because after Tropical Storm Irene and the Brooks House, I really watched our downtown have a lot of trouble, and I wanted to do something that made a difference. And I myself had lost everything that me and my son owned in Tropical Storm Irene, and I knew that the recovery process was such a huge challenge. I mean, I still don't have all the furniture that I have in my house right now, and I wanted to be able to make a difference, and what I do is dance. So the best way to make that difference is for me to do the best I can with dance. And I've got a bunch of people involved and excited. We have festival interns. We have behind us Tasha, who's a festival intern, also an apprentice at my dance company. We also have Aliza Cordell, who's just doing her 2nd year of internship. She's just graduated with her bachelor's degree in dance from Franklin Pierce. We have Dora Bubalis, who's on our committee. We have Lynn Barrett and Shanta Crowley, both doing press, PR stuff for the festival, and it's really just an incredible team. So you're going to hear from some of our faculty and some of our community members today. So we're going to start with Stephen Stern.
So Brenda's a dancer. I'm a theater person. We're both in the arts. My prompt from Shanda and from Brenda was why the arts in Brattleboro? So I just dial it all the way back to the beginning of humankind. It is my take that that human existence, from the very beginning, human beings are hardwired to be creative, to be inventive, to experiment, and to produce. So we go all the way back to the cave paintings, to the fire, the collected community listening to the storyteller tell about the hunt, around the fire that human beings imagined and figured out how to create for themselves, the wheel that they used to roll the huge elephant in there, the axle, and then forward to everything that's been invented, the palaces, the Sistine Chapel, and the artists around whom entire industries over all of time the industries that have been created by these people, whether it's Leonardo or Michelangelo, all these people working with people to develop things onward through Shakespeare and his company, and then forward on to the Wright brothers and to Thomas Edison. Edison had a myriad of people inventing and creating with him, and they were artists. These were inventors, Imagineers, all the way to Steve Jobs, to the iPhone that you're holding right now, perhaps. And the industry had created around him, around Steven Spielberg, Pixar, DreamWorks, artists creating. How about Disney? Whether you like it or not, Walt Disney World, whether you would go there or not, it doesn't matter. These are all artists, some of the highest level art in connection with Pixar, whatever else. My student, Jeremy Cox and Nathaniel Cox, Jeremy Cox works out there with Pixar. He has a job. These people, from the insight and imagination and creativity, from the time the sperm meets the egg, that individual, the creation, even everything around us, nature is bursting to create, to develop, to produce, to invent, to go into the interesting zone and find out what's next, what if, could we, maybe, possibly. Think of the civil rights movement, think of Paul Robeson and his singing. Think of the Alvin Ailey Company, the dancers, and what they did to change the viewpoint. These are the people behind Martin Luther King, and then he's an artist in I Have a Dream, and maybe he's creating an entire dream, and that's his art form. Why Brattleboro? It's this nexus of all things happening. Why am I in art? Because theater saved my life. I was a dyslexic kid. I did not know how to read even in the 5th grade. They discovered what my eyes were doing. They tried to fix it. It was a minister that put me as the butler in The Importance of Being Earnest, the play that basically saved my life. It gave me a purpose, a meaning, a friendship, a community. And I only had 2 lines, so I could have him tell them to me enough that I could do it. And I worked my way from there to a doctorate in Shakespeare. And then a 2nd doctorate in London. And to create a theater, the New England Youth Theater, because of the imagination. So I do this because it allows me to be free, it expands my wings, and I'm also trying always to expand my wings to encompass my students, my families, my community, my fellow arts partners and organizations. And arts is a huge industry worldwide, the center and culture of this place, and it floats many, many boats. So that's why it's important to have it here and to support this festival. Thank you.
Next we have Alyssa Hauser, who's also from faculty at NUIT, and she's also on faculty at the Dance Festival this year. She'll be teaching Broadway dance. I was trying to remember the exact title. Broadway dance, and we're really excited to have her because we're really excited when there's local talent that has such a great background.
So Brenda's from dance and Steven's from theater, and I dance in theater and sing at the same time. So when I was 8 years old and watching the Tony Awards, and I saw Carol Burnett up there, and I said, "Hey Mom, what's that? That is what I want to do." And at the time, I loved singing, I loved dancing, I loved acting. But I was told, "Oh, Lisa, you have to pick. You can't do all 3. You have to pick something. You can't possibly do all these things. There's no time in the day." And then I saw Carol Burnett, and I said, "What is that? What is that? That's what I want to do." She's singing, dancing, and acting all at the same time. And that's when I discovered musical theater. And for me, I am still that 8-year-old kid. I watched the Tony Awards, glued to the set the other night. That was my world. Flash forward, all those years, I did every musical I could get my hands on as a kid. I then went to the Cincinnati Conservatory of Music, got my degree in musical theater. I moved to New York and I started pounding the pavement. I was super lucky, 5 months later, to land my first Broadway show in the ensemble of the original cast of Beauty and the Beast, where I was a dancing spoon and a dancing plate and all these objects in a Disney show, and I could not have been happier. It was really a dream come true. I spent 2.5 years in that show, then I ended up going on the road. I did 2 more Broadway shows. I danced in some of the best dance musicals across the country. Dames at Sea, 42nd Street, Chorus Line, all different styles. Then I had a family and wanted a slightly different life as I raised my 2 boys. My husband got a job here in Brattleboro, and we kind of looked around and said, it's a very artistic town. I think this might be okay. I think we'll fit in here. So we came here to raise our kids, and I found NUIT, I found Brenda, I found the BMC,
Oh, sorry, you don't find Brenda, Brenda finds you.
Oh, yes, of course. All these other wonderful arts organizations. So I'm thrilled that I can impart some of my love of musical theater and dance to my students that I have now all over the surrounding areas. It's still what I love to do. I mean, it's really not a job, and that's the luckiest job in the world, you know, to be able to sing and dance, is what I always say. So I think this festival is really fantastic, and the minute I got here to this town, I was like, this town needs more things like this to bring other people in. We've got to bring other people to this town to help build the economy, and what a perfect way. So thank you for having me here, and I look forward to meeting even more people in the community. Thank you.
Next we have the loud guy. We have Donlin Foreman, who was a principal with the Graham Company for 20 years, and then had his own company, which I can never pronounce.
Yeah.
So he's going to pronounce it when he gets here. And he also teaches at my dance company at IBIT, and has set some work on us this year. Company member Genevieve and I will be performing one of his pieces in the Saturday Gala concert at the Red Fern. But we're really excited to have Donlin. I first really got to know him at the festival last year where he taught, and I just am, he never gives a speech that I get bored listening to. And they're not always short, so that's impressive. And we're just so thrilled that he's back, and that he enjoyed it enough to be really part of our dance community throughout the year.
So, does anybody have any questions? I work really well off of questions.
No?
No?
Why the scarf?
Scarf. It's cold outside.
Good answer.
Okay, so I used to work all the time, and I used to travel. So it's just a little bit, it was always this. This was touring. So I feel good with something around my neck. No questions?
How did you end up in Brattleboro?
My artistic things are in Brattleboro. I live in a tiny town, a village called Harrisville, New Hampshire. Anybody? 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 So I came over here. I've been teaching at NECA for their pro track and intensive track folks. And anyway, so dancing. Like, you know, Stephen said, my take on dancing and this dance work is that this dancing that we do doesn't live over there in the theater, but that it lives in the heart of man. And that there's nothing that we do that we don't touch another individual in our lives. And dancing throughout my life has been my learning. There's nothing in my life that I haven't learned more about through my work. And it's my work. I call it my work. It's not, I don't go and do my art. And I rarely use the word art. I use the word craft because I feel that I'm the supreme, that the supreme goal to rise to is to be a great craftsman. And if I can be a great craftsman, I have no concern whether somebody deems what I do to be art or not. It doesn't make any difference. But it's the crafted image. And Stephen spoke, you know, when he spoke about his vision, about things that rise up within him, you hear images come forward. And so for me, it's this aspect of images that we bring forward in our lives. And there's no time in my life that images haven't been important to me and haven't carried me through my greatest joys and my greatest horrors. And allowed me, as he says, you know, we open our arms and these wings unfold from the back. It's the most wonderful thing. And in teaching, I don't ask people to use their arms. I ask them to imagine that these things that we have that start here and here move across the back. This is for me, this is movement. I don't have two arms. I have a great wing over. That this thing that extends from out beyond this finger to beyond this finger, moves across my back. So I have one huge wing, one great arm that can move anywhere in any way. What happens when I envision that as part of my movement is that it grows roots and then it moves from down inside my body. So it's not just taking this arm that moves from this place and this place, but something that I open, and it opens from inside of me. And it's the same way with my legs. So now, you know, we fight when we're young in more ways than one. And we begin to recognize things in our lives, and this fighting, this deeply physical desire to understand the world becomes knowing. It becomes knowing because we begin to recognize ourselves through the things that we do in our lives. So that recognition for me is my work. My work, my dancing is recognition. That's why, I'm sorry to reel it back, to get back to this dance festival, is that you can see in this festival people who have made the physical act of movement their lives, and how all these different people in different ways recognize humanity through their movements. Ciao.
Last speaker, and then we have a couple of special performances. We're going to have two performances after Gail speaks, and one is going to be Ibit Dance Company, a short piece, and then the next will be Damon Honeycutt. I don't know if I say your name correctly.
You say it perfect.
Okay, great. And he'll do a short piece as well. And then there will be time to ask questions if people have questions. So anyone that doesn't have to leave, I'd like them to stay and ask questions, because I wanted to ask Donlin why he came back, so he's got to stay until I can ask him. Gail is up next.
Hi. Yes, I'm Gail Nunziata at Latches Arts. And at the Latches, we see things through the lens of community, culture, and commerce. And this dance festival hits all of those hot spots for us and for the town of Brattleboro. As far as the community is concerned, what could be better for the community than to bring people from outside and get feet on the street? As a community development professional, that's that's the best you can hope for in a special event in the town. What Brenda has engineered here is people all over town going to different venues, inside and outside, not just at the Latches, but trying to find all the nooks and crannies, all the interesting parts of town where the community can experience dance, maybe for the first time ever, or maybe in the first time in a certain environment ever. And the community can grow through this, and that brings us to the cultural aspect of it. Because there's nothing more important in this town, I don't think, than culture. The businesses understand, the merchants up and down Main Street and the corporations that support the arts in this community, and there are many of them, understand what culture does for the community, and then the people involved in the culture knows what it does for them inside their hearts. So there's the community aspect of what Brenda is doing and the cultural aspect of what Brenda is doing. And then there's commerce. And there's nothing better for a town than commerce. In this world where it's hard enough for merchants to stay in business and hard enough for corporations not to send themselves offshore or whatever the story is, having something that celebrates commerce mindfully and intentionally is a really beautiful partnership. It's a collaboration that she has, that she stated as a reason for bringing the dance festival to Brattleboro and keeping it downtown. At the Latches Hotel and Theater, that commerce does impact us directly, and we're grateful. The hotel, of course, there's the opportunity for people to come to the festival and stay right downtown at the hotel. We're very proud of what we offer as a hotel, and we're proud to be at the bottom of Main Street, serving the community. When people come to the downtown, come to the Latches and stay, I love to talk to them, and you wouldn't imagine, you can't imagine the impact that this town makes on people from away. They're sitting and having a cup of coffee and they're looking at Main Street or they're looking at Flat Street, and there are stars in their eyes, they're sparkling in their eyes. They can't believe what they found in the town of Brattleboro. They said, I just woke up here and I can't believe myself. And I said, well, walk up and down Main Street, then you really won't believe it, because it's fantastic. It's just fantastic. And the theater, we love to open up the theater to cultural events. Brenda bringing dance to our theater is a very brave thing. We only have wings on one side, so that's an artistic challenge for her. We just love it. We do as much in the theater as we are set up to do. And bringing dance to the theater is a terrific element that goes along with everything else we do, the movies and the music and the live events. So we appreciate that greatly. So community, culture, and commerce, this festival is finding its way to really serve all of those great needs. Thanks, Brenda.
Before I just send my dancers off to dance, I want to say that at the end of your packets here, they're right on the table if you want to grab one, there is a festival overview, and it has the schedule. There's a few things that will be added. We haven't added the third informal concert to this schedule yet, and there's other live music events. But you can get a feel for what is ticketed, what is not ticketed, all the free events. Friday's free events are going to be more buffered up by the end of this week, actually. But if you look and see, it's just non-stop dance and music for 4 days. So take a look through and see that. I also included our latest press release, just so that if you wanted to get more information about the festival and how to buy tickets, you can. So I'm now going to present Ibit Dance Company, and this is actually a work in progress, and we're going to perform an excerpt of this work at the festival. It is a childhood cancer awareness piece that we're working on that is eventually going to be, in the fall, is going to be an evening length work that's designed specifically to create awareness about childhood cancer and raise money for cancer research. So this is just a snippet, and it's a work in progress. say that Brooke Page and Genevieve Amarante are both company members of IBIT, and Tasha Rasha is in the high intermediate and apprenticing with the IBIT company, the intermediate training program. Now I'm going to introduce Damon Honeycutt, and I'm going to let him introduce what he does.
Hi all, I'm Damon Honeycutt. Thank you, Brenda, for having me here, and it's great to be able to share this event with such great speakers that came before. What I'm going to present for you today is part of a performance art installation called Sword and Brush as One. My root movement style is martial arts, and I took martial arts and moved into the expressive mediums and worked with different dance companies throughout my life. Martial arts often is depicted as something intrinsically combative in the beginning. However, the deeper you go into the culture of it and understanding the history of it, the more that it has a relationship to sculpture and to calligraphy. If you look at all the great sword masters, let's just take two, for instance, from Japan, Yagyu Minonori and Miyamoto Musashi. Miyamoto Musashi was a great calligrapher and painter as well as a swordsman. Yagyu Minonori was a great poet and student of Takuan and Rinzai-zen, and also used to, as legend has, trim his garden with his sword, which I think is interesting practice. Anyways, this performance art installation that you'll see will be part of one of the multiple gallery things that you'll see as people walk around during the festival and whatnot. It's not yet scheduled. But like with all great things, skill is better than talk, so let's go. I'm going to start open hand and progressively move to these accoutrements.
Now I just want to invite the speakers up that are available and the performers as well to come up and sit here and people can ask us questions. I'll be there too. Annie, I have the best question.
Brenda, what, your first year was last year. How do you think it went, and what do you expect for this year?
Last year it was amazing, and we definitely went into the festival weekend not exactly sure how it was going to go because it was our first year and we didn't know what was going to happen. And we had a great turnout. The classes had people in them. The performances were well enough attended that you felt like there was a real audience. And the feedback was fantastic. And this year we brought in the Bill T. Jones, Arnie Zane Company, and then a couple of people, Navarro, Novi Williams from Cedar Lake Contemporary Ballet. So there's some different types of faculty and choreographers, and we're really excited about that. And we've already seen growth this year in terms of ticket sales, sponsors, and other things as well. And I should say I haven't said yet that we're really still in need of volunteers. And we're still in need of sponsors, of course, and also host families to host some of our faculty and our choreographers that are coming from out of town to help relieve the burden of paying for a place to stay. So if anyone knows anyone, just let us know. Your questions?
You have a question for Donlin.
Oh, Donlin. Why? What made you? What did you enjoy about last year's festival? What made you come back this year?
Oh, it's just, it's being a part of the work. So I'm teaching many classes from actual technique to performance techniques to the embodied gesture, and so I love doing that. And this year I'm going to perform with my wife, so I don't get a chance to do that very often. My body's not too happy about it right now. I'm trying to flip it back into shape. It's complaining. But it should be good. I've enjoyed the rehearsals so far. That says a lot. You guys are performing a piece. I enjoy working on that. Since I've been up here, I haven't really been up here since I moved from New York. It's been 4 years in July. I haven't really been able to work in dance, and so it gives me a nice chance to do that. That's why.
Yeah.
Because I like you.
Nice.
I believe in what you're doing. Okay.
Does anybody else have other questions for people up here? I know it was a lot of information, but there's...
Can you let us who are not dancers know if and what there's anything to take that we could be part of?
Yes.
Come take my beginning Broadway class.
Lectures, giving lectures.
And he has some beginning technique classes also. Yeah. And basically the way that we do the way the festival works is it's fully designed with what is in my heart, which is that dance is for everyone. And so all of the faculty teach beginning level, and beginning level is really beginning. Anyone who has never danced before should be able to walk into those classes, and advanced level, so that a professional dancer could come and get a nice weekend of summer training. So there really is the full spectrum, and when we make this class schedule, if you go online and look at the class schedule, when you make the class schedule at each time slot, you'll see beginner, mixed level, intermediate, and sometimes advanced level classes. And we don't hold any one faculty like, oh, you don't have to teach beginners. We say to everyone, we really want you, especially, we want the people that are usually not accessible to a person who has never danced before. We want them accessible to people who have never danced before. That's part of that's what makes, because that's what keeps dance exciting for me, and that's what makes dance exciting for people who have never danced before, is the people who really have a long history of dance.
Yeah, but I'm forbidden to talk too much in the beginning level.
Yes.
But, so if you come to the beginning level, I'll try not to talk. I can't guarantee.
And Tasha attended the festival last year, so maybe she can say something about attending. She's at IBIT because she attended the festival last year. She's an intern now this year because she attended the festival last year. And she, by the way, yep, she spends a lot of money in town. And by the way, she doesn't live here.
I don't.
She does not live here. She drives almost an hour to come to IBIT every week, and she was inspired by the festival. So I should say that that is actually, to answer your question before, Annie, that is like an example of the success of the festival. So, now do you want to say anything? I've said it all.
Yeah, I think as a dancer, it's hard to find a program like this so close without traveling hours compared to an hour. But I don't know.
Well said. Well
Yeah,
said.
yeah, it's hard. It's not something that you just come upon every day. It's a unique program.
That's good, right?
Yeah.
It's good.
Good.
It's good, unique.
I ran into Tasha's mom on the street at the end of the festival last year, and she said, I didn't know who she was, by the way, but she knew who I was, and she said, oh, Brenda, thank you so much. You saved my life. My kids were so mad at me for not sending them away to a summer dance thing, and you saved me from that. And she said, now they a little bit want to move to Brattleboro. That's the only problem. They said, so that's really, I had no idea who she was. I had seen her wander around town throughout the 4 days, but I didn't know. So now we're like back. Anyone have anything to add?
I just think it's really unique to be able to attend a festival where that's not just modern dance or theater dance. You know, you can really get, I mean, there's styles that I've never attempted, but I mean, it's incredible. So for a dancer who just wants to try things that maybe is out of their comfort zone, I think that's really unusual and really wonderful. It's something different and unique.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like the part, and also for a professional dancer or a beginner, but part of the training is to go out of your comfort zone. And I feel like especially high school, college level, we're still kind of unafraid to do that. And it really isn't until we're willing to do that we grow as dancers or people.
Right, because it feels very strange to our bodies to do something that's not in our...
You know, like I see students all the time say, oh, I don't want to take class with that person because it's not really my thing. And I'm like, well, it might not be your thing, but I'm going to just have you go in that room and do it anyways. And you might find out later that it actually was your thing, or it'll just make you grow. So,
you know, modern was never my thing, but I spent a summer at Bennington studying, and then I got to college. In my musical theater training, we studied with the Horton technique. 8 a.m. in the morning. It was the best thing for me ever. I still do the exercises to this day, and so any cross training is invaluable.
Yeah. Yeah. Dora has a question.
Well, no, I was just going to ask because the question came up about what there is for people at the beginner level, and one of the things that's happening is some lectures, and Donlin is doing a lecture on Martha Graham, and I was just wondering if you could give a preview of what tell people what to expect, because some of us attended.
Well, I don't expect anything. What you have to expect it. I'm just going to talk about it. I don't know. I have some PowerPoint stuff, some photographs, some stories, some real things that happened, and
talking about Martha Graham.
Yeah.
In that.
I mean, about
Martha.
I mean, look, and it was so great. I had an opportunity to have this little book published in Italy. We did, with the Graham Company through the 80s, we did more work in Europe and basically in Italy than we did in the United States. And so there was this great man who was our booking person. He began publishing, his family had been book publishers. And so he began publishing these obscure writings of different poets and writers things that hadn't been published before. And I approached him about publishing. I had kept notebooks my whole career. And during, all the different works that I danced with Martha's and after rehearsals and things like that. And I asked him if he would be interested in publishing these things, and he said, And I said, you know, because we're always looking for income. And I said, you know, could you give me a little stipend, you know, like to put these things together and stuff? And he laughed. And he said, write it and send it to me. We'll see. We'll see what we can do. And so I pulled out about 30 pages from these notebooks and sent to him, and they decided to publish it in Italian and in English in one volume. And I was very, very fortunate to be able to do that, but it brought out a lot of images of growth, of recognitions that's involved with working with Martha. You know, it's not just, you know, Martha Graham, this iconic figure that anybody can tell you about. You can go online and find out, you know, any number of things about her, but it's the working the work that she immersed her life in, that her life was about. So it's that. It's talking about working with this person who dedicated their lives to this monumental art form. I don't know.
And that book is called Out of Martha's House, right?
Yeah, it's called Out of Martha's House.
Yeah. Yeah?
Well, I have another one, and this is for everybody.
Okay.
Because a lot of the, you know, it was spoken about how the dance festival was started as a way to sort of improve the economy. And a lot of the speakers spoke about art and following dreams, and I'm curious to know about, well, just the idea of following your dream as an artist, trying to live as an artist, and also surviving economically, personally, because we all know that that's really difficult, and I was wondering if, you know, if everybody could speak to that.
I'll start. I think it's about knowing your value. Knowing that, and a lot of the times when you practice these creative skills, that you engender upon a path that's probably a little harder than one might expect. But, you know, hardship and suffering, I guess you could say, comes with anything that one does. And I think, for me as a vehicle, as an artist, especially with taking the martial arts and transcending it into a creative expression of movement, I think keeps me grounded in the moment. So I kind of less think about the economy of it, and I think more about, as Donna said before, being a craftsperson. And when you're a craftsman, if you approach with your craft, an expert will know another expert by that. And just by association, by putting yourself out there, having the courage to create, I think you have to trust in that. I know people that are high-level computer programmers, but their jobs aren't secure either. So it all depends on your perspective. I think a lot of people get attracted with the romantic idea of the starving artist, but that doesn't have to be the case.
Anyone else?
Stephen, what do you
Stephen, we want to know what
run the
you
whole
think.
thing.
You run a big thing.
Well, I do youth theater, and I'm basically in it for the money. I have 500 kids working for me, and they give me a job and you know, a place to be, and they fill my heart with joy, my pockets with money, and
With cash, right?
with cash. So it's like pay up or see you later, you know.
Yeah, that's how Ajna got in there.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, you know.
So Stephen, are we all just art mercenaries then? Because mercenaries
Well, you know, often my mind dials back to widgets, you know, widgets, you know, and say, well, so what is the earth becoming to anyway? You've got to sell somebody else's widget, or you have to invent a widget, and if you can invent a really good widget, like say the iPhone or the Kindle, then you can make a lot of money and sell a lot of widgets and employ a lot of people to make the widgets. But everything for me dials back to my failures, basically. I just haven't liked, I don't mind being in a place of failure, but I hate staying there. I don't like living in a world of, especially when it's a failure that I've created, that I'm, through my own inadequacies, it's always just made me angry. And a lot of my failures in my earlier years had to do with working for other people. Not that they were bad people. When I was in graduate school, I stocked boxcars. So I showed up at about 6 a.m. in the morning, and until noon, until I had to go back to the university, I was down there at the freight yards in Seattle stocking boxcars. When I was in high school, my summer job was, I would go around the grounds of the university where I lived, Dartmouth College, you know, and I was on buildings and grounds crew, and we would lay in grass, you know, just basically rake, and you know, I did have an abusive boss in that one, and you know, but eventually, you know, and then I did quit theater altogether. I was in a play in New York City, which was with a very abusive director, and she was beating up on her kid. She was literally, and one night during performance, she accosted the kid, and the kid was only about 7 years old, and she put him up against the wall, and then I put her up against the wall. And I basically said, you touch him one more time, and you're in serious trouble. And her husband came up and said, you're fired. And I said, very reluctantly and sadly, I accept
my
firing wholeheartedly, but I always worried about the child.
Wow, yeah.
But I got the heck out of there, and then not too long after that, I got the heck out of New York, and I ended up on a farm for 5 years in Vermont as a farmer.
Wow.
But I found my clown through studying. About halfway through that, I went to one workshop in clowning, and I just suddenly realized, and the person who taught that basically said, if you can write your own material and produce your own material, rehearse your own material, market your own material, sell your own material, and tour your own material, you can make a small living. He said you can make a small fortune if you begin with a large one.
Yeah.
But I said, you know, that gives me something to shoot for. And so literally I got on the Vermont Arts Council with 5 minutes of material. That's all I had. But you only had to audition with 5 minutes, so I was okay. And I then got a show out of that and didn't have a show to do.
Wow.
I literally didn't have a show to do. We lived in a small cabin that didn't even hardly have insulation. It had a Sevka stove. And I put some props on a step ladder, put my 5-year-old son in front of me on the floor, and said, I'm going to do a show for you. Because the next morning was the gig. And I created a 45-minute show in front of him, and then I went in. But I did leave openings in the show for anybody who wanted to blurt something out from the audience. And usually the blurtings were impromptu and came at times I didn't expect, which was a great blessing because the 45 or 40-minute show became an hour show. And basically all the great things that came from the audience stayed in the show. And that convinced me that you can make a life out of mistakes and by learning. And so that's basically, my whole life has been stumbling through. But anybody who thinks that, I mean, art really for me is not what you see on the wall or what you see on the stage. It's the act of creatively participating in something with other people, which is what it is about for me, because I simply can't take orders from people and be told, do this, and then this, and then this, and then this. Collect your paycheck, punch in, punch out, do. And I've done that for a lot of time. And it's just not me, so, you know, other people can do it, fine, cool. But I think that the really good people, I love people who are in a theater, and I've hired some, and they're doing, I say to the student or whatever, the floor needs to be mopped. And I can tell the person who's dancing with the mop. And I just think you can mop and make that the most glorious experience possible. Or you can be there going, I hate this, God, I hate this, I hate this, you know. And I'm just looking for the people who dance with the mop, you know. It's my life. What?
wash the dishes and horse dance. That's what I do at home.
Yeah, exactly.
People ask me what Kung Fu gave me, and I said a good cup of coffee in the morning.
That is really something worth remembering, I think, isn't it?
Yes.
No matter what you're doing, that thing across your back that you say, you know, that extends. I like to say to my kids, you're out there on stage, each arm is 200 or 300 feet long. You can encircle the entire audience, and you can magically bring them and put them on a little nani-nunu rug right in front of you. And you can perform for the 4-year-old inside of them. Because I once performed for 150 millionaires, doing the political show, Peasant of El Salvador. The women were dressed in studs and diamonds and jewelry, and the men with Rolex watches and suits and everything else. And they were all, I mean, Reaganites like crazy, and we were speaking total, that what was going on in El Salvador, Honduras was totally garbage. And they did the final thing of checking what you like. That was a whole week of things that this corporation hired us to do. And they said, Liz, of all the things you did, what was your best and your worst? And they said, you did a great job, because half the people said that was the worst thing of the festival, and half said that was the best thing of the festival, of the week, of the corporate week. And if you can get that kind of balance, then I think you got something going, you know.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. I think that's great. Does anyone have anything to add to that at all?
I have one thing to add.
Okay.
And what I do in my spare time is choral singing, and with all this wonderful art. And what I've experienced with that is we really do it for ourselves. I mean, we're there week in and week out to take this music and make it into something that we do for ourselves. And some of the most transcendent moments are during rehearsal. And the fact that we have to perform it is important. You know, we want to share it, but, you want people to experience it from a cultural point of view, and it's nice that they pay a ticket price, because that helps fuel it going forward. But really, the deep inside part is not on that Saturday night. The deep inside part is what we do together in the room we get to. And see that that's what this dance is all about.
Yeah.
And class is an extension of that when you teach a class, because you're not performing. You're just all together experiencing it and hopefully imparting, and you learn from your students, and so that's being in the rehearsal room. It's the best place.
Something to look forward to each week. It is.
Yeah.
And carry with you and to tap in.
Yeah.
I'm really excited.
And I can't, I can't do it. My answer to that question is I just can't do anything else but be a dancer. I've tried really, I really have. It's not just that I'm not good at it, it's that I really can't make myself walk away from dance. I applied to law school, I got in, I didn't go.
I can't do anything but dance.
So
that's fine. I can't. This is it. This is
he makes leather things. They're awesome. But yeah, it's all of the things you said. So, if you can do everything yourself, you can make a small amount of money, make it through and survive. So.
But all manner of things will come to your assistance that you don't expect. At the least expected times. What?
There's space for it.
Right.
Exactly. So if you set the table and leave some space, then people will come to the table.
Thank you, Gail.
I'm always impressed with
Bye, Gail. It's good to see you.
Thanks, Gail. Bye, Johnny.
So I just want to thank everyone for coming.
Yeah, we're Brenda.
Thank you.